obviously a highly competitive environment. So this is the chance for each team to brag about how much work they did, how they like completely smashed the targets for this event, and it will also give us some clues about what you think is going to be the focus for Friday. So we're going to record this. I'm just checking with Rika or Richard. I think Richard is on it. Okay, Richard's going to do a record. I'm going to just share the screen because I know some of you will appreciate that. Apologies if you don't. And who is going to start us off with your 2-minute overview?
I'm good.
Who was that?
David.
Excellent. David, which group are you reporting in on?
Blue, material supply chains.
Blue. Okay. So your timer is going to be up in the top hand corner of the mural. I'll move into the mural now. And
so just keep focusing on across to the right. We did the boxes.
Excellent.
I've got my own screen anyway, so I can just.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Let's go then, David. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So we're looking at material supply chains for the circular economy, focusing on, first of all, pro-economics, and in particular, what is the incentives we need for industry to adapt towards circular economy. So we looked at things like, in the short term, we need to look at cost models, investigate what industry can produce itself and how to encourage industry amongst itself to set standards. Going forward, we saw the need to probably even ban exports of waste materials to force the industry to do it locally. Economic incentives initially to start recovery and recycling, but going forward, that should become less of an incentive. It should become more, there should be less reduced need from the government. We also felt medium term, we need to look at things like establishing infrastructure to promote a circular economy, supply chains, which don't really exist to the length we need now, but will be a medium term thing. And moving forward, we could see the UK in a position where we could look at international agreements and actually to, as a whole circular economy standard, but like COP26 or COP40, whatever it may be, and also maybe becoming an exporting nation in the area of circular economy. Looking at the big picture, we realize there's a lack of knowledge among stakeholders at the moment. It's going to be engaging a lot of different organizations, including individuals. We thought about the idea of material passports for material, but how about individual carbon passports for us to incentivize us to try to, as part of the education, to reduce our dependency. And we see the use of digital tools as well to promote all that. The word waste will disappear from the British dictionary, the English dictionary, in around 2040. No one will know what it means in the future. And we get to the stage where everybody thinks and naturally behaves in a circular economy way. Yeah. Done.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. And you had 6 minutes to 6 seconds to spare. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much.
Some would argue he wasted those 6 seconds.
Oh, Mark.
Sorry.
That's not what we expect.
Recycle them next time.
In a collaborative environment. Right.
Hold off the napalm.
So thank you very much, Blue Group. So which group would like to go next? Peter, is that you going? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, are you all right? Shall I cover it?
Or do you want to go for it? I'm fine. Okay. I was going to ask whether David wanted to do it.
Oh.
I'm good,
yeah, sure.
Carry on, Peter.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, I guess just following on from last time, we'd already done a bit of work on some of the challenges. We'd identified 6 areas, which was looking at legislation we'd covered on Friday. We also discussed today a little bit about clean energy. So some of the issues around this. There are a lot of political issues around obviously getting this to happen, of getting that resource efficiency and net zero energy coming in there. And there was also a lot of discussion around recycling, so some of that might need to move around. Standards prohibiting new material selections. There was discussions around the complete headache that the aerospace sector faces when getting new materials placed in there. And that was an enormous issue, and we covered some of the other parts of some of the rail industry and what it's struggling to adopt new materials. There was also a little part which we talked about ineffective recycling or non-cost effective recycling. I think generally the consensus from this discussion was it wasn't that there was issues with the recycling process in the main part, but it was more a cost competitive nature. There was a part on materials passport, but we also covered that on Friday. We did a little bit of a discussion around some of the key drivers. I think generally within the group, the feeling was legislation was the real key thing which needs to be driven forwards. And we tried to come up with some of the kind of short and medium term parts, but we believe that a kind of a review on the taxation of imports, so carbon tax, is important, but also that needs to eventually lead to something, because we were worried about the being able to export products if we had that going on. Right to repair was obviously very important, and some discussions about long-lasting tyres. I'm about to run out of time, but standards I mentioned, there was a little discussion about rail standards going forwards. On the recycling aspect, if I'll just finish this point, was that we have standardization of waste needs to come forwards to a kind of enable design to occur with these materials. And also kind of we need these material passports to come forward so that we actually know what's going into a recycling plant, as it really inhibits recycling going forwards.
Marvelous. Thank you very, very much. That's great, Peter. So that's purple group and blue group. So orange or green? Okay, I think I'm seeing orange group. Every time I get that wrong. Okay, there we go. Orange group.
I'll go orange, but if anybody wants to take over, please do.
Thanks, Steve.
Right. So we echoed some of the conversations that we've already just heard about, you know, the importance of having a really good recycling infrastructure to make things happen. So I think these conversations will roll into each other and integrate in interesting ways. I just want to pick out a couple of examples. We talked about inadequate design of the infrastructure and the vehicles together, which would increase vehicle sharing in particular. And we set out the thought that we should gather more international benchmarks, map what governments and academics are doing, what infrastructure projects are out there, generate possible future scenarios from that. So as an early activity, there's a need to actually understand the knowledge base that's already out there. We talked about starting to influence designs through proof of concepts that we hope in the medium term would then influence actual vehicle designs happening in volume. On the somewhat softer side of design of integrated products and services, we were worried about the desirability of these products, and we wanted to see very early 2020 proof of concept of ideas that segmented and that different customers would go, I would really want one of those now. That's absolutely blinking fantastic. That hits my need perfectly. On disputes about the ownership of public space, I think this is an area that personally I think is quite fascinating. And I believe we need to start running experiments on different ways to build governance systems. So what are the rules for the system? You know, do we allow people who live in a street to decide what happens to that street, even though other people travel through them? Let's build them.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're on to our final group. Evie, you go your green group.
Yeah. And I'll try to give an overview. I have to say, we've been doing this in a bit different manner because we had a lot of in-depth discussions about our challenges and our enablers. So we've managed to go through 3 of them: the producer responsibility for materials. The things that we kind of identified as quite key is change policy and regulation, basically, around what happens at the moment. We need more focus on things that we now dilute and we do not recover, such as our technology metals. We talked quite a bit about how at the moment the way we recycle is not fit for purpose, and that we shred everything, so we lose a lot of useful materials, or we downcycle. So we need to think about the dismantling and the disassembly to separate different materials, components, etc. So we need a different methodology there. I'll just move a little bit on the foresighting technology, which was another one of the priorities we looked at. We discussed about the leasing model and how that can be useful. One key message that came out of this is that we have to take good examples from the aerospace sector, because they are doing a lot of material circularity that the automotive and other sectors are struggling to do. Obviously, there is the values associated with that, which is a bit of an issue for the automotive sector. But there are a lot of good working across the aerospace sector can help us to develop useful methodologies for other transport systems. We talked about material leasing, design, which is something that goes back to the dismantling, thinking about the longevity of design and components we use, and the necessity for global coordination systems and standards that's across the globe. Sorry, I didn't manage to say that. Went into quite a bit of depth.
Thank you very much. That's great. We always knew that each group would take it a slightly different way, so that's absolutely fine. Can I just get the recording turned off now?